The Independent Electoral Commission says it's impressed with the turnout for the voter registration weekend. It says its new voter management device have also been performing admirably with nearly 40,000 people using the facility. The system now hit with technical glitches yesterday, but 598,000 people were able to register for the November poll. The IEC adds that at least 9 voting stations were closed today due to service delivery protests. Applications for special votes will stay open until tomorrow. Of course, we come now to that story, and we're joined by the IEC's Deputy Chief Electoral Officer, Masego Sheburi, on the outcomes from the past 2 days. Masego, good to have you with us tonight. The target was to at least see about 2 million expected to register and some to update their details. How far did you go?
Indeed, we are pleased with the turnout of voters over the last 2 days. We estimate that today we should be able to surpass the number of persons that we interacted with. Yesterday, we serviced in excess of 600,000 voters who applied for registration for the first time and those who were updating their details. We are finalizing the cleanup of data, and tomorrow we should be able to release the statistics to the South African public.
Over the 23,000 voting stations that were open, 9 of them were hit by protests that failed to open. What was the reasons for the closures?
The majority of reasons were the service delivery and or dissatisfaction by certain members of the community with the outcomes of the demarcation, in that people who were in a ward in the previous elections have now redemarcated into new wards by the Municipal Demarcation Board, or persons who feel that they would be better served if their wards belonged in a certain municipality and not the municipality in which they are designated. In all of those instances, none of those issues were related to the Electoral Commission. However, the registration event was used by those members of the community to profile their grievances. But 9 stations out of a total of 23,151 is an insignificant number. We are, however, concerned that communities may have not had access to the registration process. We urge those, if they still need to register, to do so online until midnight tomorrow on the 20th, or to visit their local IEC office to update and or register if they could not do so today owing to those disruptions.
Also, you're saying those 9 communities, at least where those 9 registration stations failed to open, still have an opportunity to register online or to go to the electoral office nearby to be able to get in their details?
Indeed, every person who was not able to avail themselves of the convenience that a voting station registration offers still has until tomorrow to register at our offices during office hours, or to do so on our online platform, which will remain open until midnight tomorrow.
You seem to have not anticipated the huge number of people who would want to use the online registration. Well, at least yesterday, the system seemed to have had some glitches. What is the impact of that?
Indeed, we had intermittent disruption to our service. We have identified and isolated those problems, and I think our systems performed admirably from the afternoon yesterday and held up even better today. The issue is a combination of, one, traffic, but also the security layers that we had implemented to safeguard, one, the personal information of persons, also to safeguard the transmission of data along our network, so that we can compare those persons against the population register. We can draw on the maps so that persons register in their correct voting district. And once we had implemented those measures and lessened some of our security features, the system improved significantly.
VMDs, you were testing those for the first time. How did they work?
The VMDs proved that they were a correct acquisition. They are fit for purpose, and they delivered on the specification and the provisioning for which they had been intended. There had been reports that the VMD have been malfunctioning or working offline. That was what it was intended to do. If in an area we do not have enough connectivity to GSM or to the internet, instead of stopping the registration process, the VMD defaults to a mode which allows for manual registration, and as soon as it connects or reestablishes connectivity, it transmits that data seamlessly and even unbeknown to the operator.
And then let's talk about the incidents in KwaDambuza in KwaZulu-Natal. Did you receive a formal complaint from the economic freedom fighters on that incident?
Other than the news reports that we've seen, no, we are yet to receive any formal communication or complaint from the parties involved. However, we wish to state as the Electoral Commission that intolerance or violence of any form is inimical to democratic values, and it puts a blight on a celebratory process of selecting persons who should administer our affairs on behalf of the community. So any form of violence from whence it emanates should be condemned.
Now, looking at the time allocation that you have, there's anticipation of possible challenges, for example, in generating ballot papers in time, but also looking at the kind of protests that we have seen, maybe even challenges in delivering those ballot papers on time. What's the position of the IEC on that?
We are in uncharted territory, but we accept the challenge. It will be for the first time that we run an election in a truncated timetable of 42 days. However, the amended timetable that the Commission will issue tomorrow was well thought out. We will be able to deliver the majority of the activities in that timetable within the timelines that are set. We are confident that with the planning that we have done, we should be able to generate the over 4,600 unique ballot papers that must be designed, signed off by the contesting political parties and independent candidates, generate sample ballot papers for sign-off by parties, and start the odious process of printing 75 million ballots and distributing them to 23,151 voting stations. Because in this election, a ballot paper for one ward will not be the same with the ward next door, even if those wards are in the same municipality. So we are putting measures in place to make sure that we can print those, package those properly, and distribute them in correct quantities, right at the first time, and right in quantity and to the right voting station the first time around.
I would assume that that would mean a lot of emergency procurement. How are you ensuring that there's no corruption that happens there? But also, I'm sure you will now be using service providers that you otherwise have not used previously, who are not even familiar with some of the processes of the IEC. How are you going to ensure quality control?
To the contrary, there won't be any emergency procurement. As you'd recall, even when we went to the Constitutional Court to ask for a deferment, we had always been on record as saying that we had been planning for an election that must occur no later than the 1st of November. So the majority of our procurement is on course. Our procurement had already concluded. The only thing that we're starting from fresh as a procurement item will be PPE for elections, because until a week ago, that aspect of our procurement was not funded, and therefore we could not commence with procurement for those. But the majority of our procurement, including ballot papers, had been sorted out a while ago. So we are just waiting for the list of parties that are certified and candidates so that we can start the ballot paper generation and printing.
So that's all you're waiting for then, to press the green button and start printing paper. Of course, I'm sure the outcome of the court ruling tomorrow is quite key, because that will determine which parties are included in those ballot papers in particular wards.
Indeed, the Constitutional Court has indicated that it will hand down its order tomorrow by 10 to parties, and that will provide much needed clarity on whether our interpretation of the order of the court on the 3rd of September was correct. With great humility, we think that we acted consistent with that order. We think that the Commission acted consistent with its constitutional and its legal obligation, and that tomorrow that might just be vindicated by the decision that the Constitutional Court makes.
Yeah. Does it throw a spanner in the works, though, for you if you don't get that ruling in your favor?
No, if you don't get that ruling in our favor, all that it means is that from the timetable that the Commission must amend tomorrow, we will just exclude a period for candidate nomination. However, our reading of the order is that the court did not remove the obligation from the Electoral Commission to deliver free and fair election, and to that extent, the power to amend the election timetable if it is necessary for freeness and fairness of an impending election.
Masego Sheburi, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us tonight. IEC's Deputy Electoral Officer there, giving us, of course, feedback on the weekend of registration.